Hey guys, Moose here. Welcome back to another episode of Life is Feudal Forest Village. Getting close to being able to put a big house up, which will mean demolishing everything else. No need to keep these around at that point. Really love it if more people were born. It looks like one person grew up, 2 new people were born. So we're getting there. It's taken a little time, but we're getting there. Bit by bit. Alright, let's do the next layer. I should still be able to work on this one easily. It's almost done anyway. In fact, that guy's probably about to finish it. No. Okay. Kinda wanna control someone and do it. The question is the game gonna let me? Not from here. Maybe from below. They did seem to be hitting it from there. Hey, there we go. Just turned off the fan. It's gotten a little bit colder. It's still... Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, so I can't. It's just, that's the... Yeah. Alright, not what I wanted. That's okay, finished it. I should have just let him do it. Whatever. But yeah, it's still definitely hot, but it's better than it was by a pretty substantial margin. The only thing that I'm bothered by right now is I've gotten... Well, I shouldn't get too much into it, but in any job, there's a saying that lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part, and I'm very familiar with being told, no, tough shit, it does constitute an emergency on your part, so... I'm gonna ask pointed questions to say, well, why did we get in this position in the first place, but I don't think I'm ever gonna get an answer. I tried to ask that question for a different issue earlier today, and the guy was like, what are you trying to pull? What do you mean, why is this an emergency? So, I guess I wasn't clear with him. I'm gonna try to explain better. I'm like, no, see, the thing is, you're asking me to do something, and I want to know why this wasn't dealt with a month ago. And, yeah, I don't know. That other one wasn't a big ask. This one's not really a big ask either, it's just... The time frame is rough. I could absolutely do it, and I will. It's not a problem, just wish I had more time to do it. It sucks, because there's all this data analysis I do, and I always, like, it's always last minute. No one ever asks me, like, hey, could I get this, like, a week from now? No one ever asked me that stuff. They're just like, hey, could you help me with this? And yeah, could you do it in the next 10 minutes? Like, if I had more time to do it, I'd probably be able to set up some kind of consistent... Like, I'd be able to set up a report where it's automated and I didn't have to worry about it, but instead I have all these one-off things because I'm not really given enough time to not make a one-off thing, and it's frustrating. I'm tired of it. I'd so much rather automate it so that it's never a question again, but... I guess I gotta... just assume that people are going to have particular questions ahead of time and then hope they don't need anything else, because it feels like there's not really a whole lot else I can do. Other than that, my hands are basically tied. I just kind of have to wait and see what they want. It's frustrating. On the other hand, it does mean I'm pretty, or at least in my own mind, I think of myself as being relatively valuable. Just because the data literacy... I would say one thing, if you're like a young person, you're like in your teens and you're thinking about... Well, you're probably not thinking about it, but you should think about, like, what's going to happen when you're older, what kind of job you're going to do, what kind of work you're going to do. Honestly, just understand data. And I know that's like, oh, you can just say that like it means something specific. It's not that simple, right? But... data's big. And you could take it a step further and be a guy that works, or a gal. No gender discrimination. You could be either, it's fine. You could be one of the people setting up databases and stuff, and that's fine. But what I've found is more The problem with work is there's a lot of jobs and there's a lot of things that aren't worth hiring an individual for. So anyone can do a job. Really, if you're working a job, you should always be doing your job. Like, it should never be a question of, are you performing your core tasks? Those should always be taken care of. That shouldn't even come up. You could argue the quality of it, and, hey, I can do it better, and, you do it worse or something, whatever, that's fine. I'm not worried about that right now. That's not the relevant detail. I was looking for this jerk. That's not the part that I'm really talking about here. You should always be able to do the core responsibilities of the job. What's really valuable, and what, in my mind, makes someone, at least in my experience, better, superior to other options, and what gives you a leg up on the competition is anyone else looking for work, is that you can do more than that. I'm valuable because I can say, yeah, hey, my job is to manage the flow of material and, basically handle work orders and say, like, look, this is what we're going to build today, this is what we're going to build tomorrow, etc., and figure that out. That's not why I'm really valuable. The reason I'm really valuable is I can do that more effectively, more efficiently, and more accurately than most of my peers because I have the data analysis and data literacy skills necessary to be able to look at a huge set of data and interpret it in a way that allows me to understand and know things that would be difficult for someone else to pick up on quickly. I don't have to take as long to figure something out because I've got the data telling me what's going on before it happens. I can see something happening, and the info is always there. There's a ton of info, and it's all over the place. Businesses generate so much data these days. The part that we lack, the part that people are not good at, is understanding that data, knowing where to look, knowing what that means. That kind of thing is... It can take you far, I think. Now, granted, I'm not a manager, no one reports to me. You could say I'm not low level, I'm definitely making fine money. I wouldn't necessarily even say I'm making great money, but, like, you could argue, well, what do you know, Moose? You're not like you don't own a business, you're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, and that's all valid, but I'm early in my career, ultimately. I really strongly think that the ability to look beyond the obvious and understand, hey, this data point means this, or this collection of data means this, and do it quickly and efficiently, which basically comes down to knowing how to use Excel. Like, as stupid as that may sound, that's basically what it boils down to. If you can do that, that's huge. That's a leg up on everyone else, because believe me, no one's going through high school learning how to use Excel, or very few people are. So, it's the kind of thing that probably, if you're an intelligent kid, you maybe think that's like, whoa, it's stupid. Anyone knows how to use Excel. And I felt that way when I was a kid. I was like, what do you mean you don't understand? How could you not understand computers? You literally, like, building a computer is, look, if it fits, you plug it in there. That's pretty much it. And there's I think the only time when that's not true, pretty much, is when you're talking about, like, if you have 2 sticks of RAM and you have 4 slots, you need to put them, I think, in 2 specific slots? But it's very clear, like, if you look at it for a second, you should be able to tell what it is. You go by color. There's usually, if you have 4, it's like alternating colors, and you just match the colors, and I think maybe one of them is supposed to go before the other, so you do one color before the other one, if you happen to have 4, but it's usually spelled out pretty clearly, even written on the circuit board. And then the only other thing is, like, I guess you have to know that for PCI card... Or no, you don't even have to go top to bottom. You should, most of the time, but you don't have to. It still works, it just might be slower. And then the real one is the depending on what motherboard you get, the connection from the case to the motherboard can be a pain in the ass, but most of the, like, if you get a good one, it doesn't, it comes with a little spacer thing that has everything labeled. It's like perfect, it's set up for you. I've done it where you don't have that, and it's a massive pain in the ass, but if you do have it, it's the easiest thing in the world. So, I don't know. I kind of get people being intimidated by it, but you know what? Life's intimidating. Sometimes you gotta just suck it up and get something done. It's important to be able to do that sometimes. And that's valuable for work, too. Being able to just say, you know what? I don't totally know how to do this, but I'm gonna figure it out, and then we're gonna move on. That's it. You just put in the work, figure it out, and get it done. It's a lot... I think you make a potential manager a lot happier when you say, look, well, I don't really know how to do that, but I'll go figure it out. And, you know, we'll be good. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And if you have questions, you have questions. That's fine. But, yeah, I don't know. But on the flip side, you could easily have a shitty manager. Where's statues? They're under decorations, aren't they? Yeah, they are. Yeah, I don't know. I want to put it on this line, but I don't know where. But I know what the spacing is now, at least. So I can start looking at... Oh, there is no large house. It's just a house. Okay, my mistake. Why? I don't know why I thought it was called a large house. Alright, we need one more. Maybe two more. That's okay. But this is... we've got the right width, so that's a good start. They're longer than I remember. I don't know how they're longer than remember. It's been 2 episodes, but whatever, you get the idea. But yeah, like, people... This is like a mean thing to say maybe, but one of the biggest lessons that I learned going from college to the workforce is that people are really stupid. And you're probably smarter than you... Well, I don't want to say that, because there are a lot of people that are full of themselves. I was smarter than I thought. I thought I was not very smart. Or at least I genuinely thought I was a loser. Like, you know, they always talk of, you know, people complain, oh, my husband can't keep a job, he's spent, you know, all this stuff. Before I got a job, I was, like, terrified. That was me. I was completely horrified that I was the deadbeat, you know, loser that was never going to amount to anything. That horrified me. I thought I was stupid, I thought I was lazy, I thought I was unmotivated, I thought I was just worthless, basically. And working, really, I know I talk about work a lot, but that's because that's what kind of gives me meaning. Like, I'm doing YouTube, yes, I am trying to make money off of it, for sure. I mean, YouTube took away monetization, which is something we could talk about at length still. I'm pissed off about that. But, I mean, it's on me that I'm not at 1,000 subs at this point, so, you know, I don't really blame anyone but myself. But yeah, like, work changed who I am. Work changed my perspective. Completely. It was work followed by, I had a, this is something I'm not really... I've mentioned it a couple times. I don't really want to go into detail because I don't want it... I can't explain why until I tell you what it is, and I don't want to tell you what it is. But I had a health issue. It was serious, it scared me, and that was a wake-up call, and kind of made me... That changed me, and I can't really explain how or why it changed me, because I don't totally understand, to be honest. But it did change me, and as a result, I'm more motivated, I'm more... I would say maybe not aggressive in a bad way, but I'm more aggressive in pursuing what I want. And it's objectively made my life better. Absolutely made my life quite a bit better. So... I want to catch someone here. There we go. There's some animals getting close. I know there's no reason to really do this other... Well, it's free food. Plus, I don't like the idea of wolves being just, like, hanging out next to my homes with no doors. I think I shot that one in the paw. But it's hide and meat, and those are both valuable. Anyway. Between working and kind of having purpose, and then had that health issue that was kind of a wake-up call. The combination of the two, and having a job, not just working, but like having a job where like, hey, I'm like showing that I'm smart and I'm using my intelligence in a way that benefits me and the company, did so much for my self-esteem, my sense of who I am, my motivation as a person. Like, that completely changed who I am. Completely. And I would say I'm not unrecognizable. There's a lot of aspects of me that are still similar, and there's bad habits that I have as a result of the time when I didn't totally hate myself, but I did ultimately think that I was pretty worthless, and that's kind of the same thing, I guess. And there's stuff that kind of carried over from that, unfortunately. I'm still working through it, but fundamentally I'm, like, not at all the same person. Can I not cut down this tree? There we go. It changed me a ton. And like I said, I can't totally explain why, even if I was going to tell you what went wrong with me, but it's just different. I don't know. I can't point to a specific thing that made me change, but well, I can, getting sick, but, you know, within that, like, I can't tell you why I changed. I don't totally understand it, to be honest, but I'm happy about it. I'll tell you that much. It made me a better person. Not necessarily a better person when interacting with other people, not that I'm a bad person when interacting with other people. I think I'm fairly nice, but that didn't really change. I was always fairly nice. More, it made me more capable of pursuing the things that I want in life. If that makes sense. So yeah, anyway. The fundamental point that I was getting at there was working kind of opened my eyes as to... There were things that I thought were subpar about myself that are actually above average, and people told me they were above average, but I was like, oh, you're just being nice, you're stupid. You don't actually know me, you don't understand what's wrong with me and how I could be better, you know. I felt like, oh, well, you just don't know. And that was stupid of me, and probably selfish and ignorant, I think, are all fair things to say. And I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here. I still don't think I'm very smart. I just think that a lot of people are dumber. If that makes sense. And I'm not saying this because I'm up my own ass thinking I'm awesome. I don't think I'm awesome. I just... Look, I see the people I work with, and I can objectively say that I'm more knowledgeable than they are. We'll leave intelligence out of it. I'm more knowledgeable and more skilled with the tools required for the job than they are. So, fundamentally, that means something to me. That's an advantage that I have as an employee. So, I don't know. Yeah. Point is, I've talked about this before, data literacy, knowledge of how to use a computer. These are the tools of the modern era. Things changed, you know? I think in the past, because you didn't have computers to simplify things and take care of some of the basic stuff, there were very different jobs. You know, a lot of it may have just been literally just attention to detail, and God, that must have been boring. It was really just either skilled labor, whether you're an architect or carpenter or anything like that, which is huge, that's valuable, it's still valuable, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that's not the normal job anymore. If it ever was. Or farming or something like that. Like, that's not the work anymore. What it is now is like, hey, we're doing this thing, either, like in manufacturing, either you're looking at and making decisions based on data, or doing data and effectively data entry. A lot of my job is just data entry, which requires attention to detail, but that's not really the point. That's not something that I actually should be doing. That can all be automated and really should be. And I'm honestly actively trying to automate it because I could spend my time more effectively doing other things. But other than that, it's really just like, hey, there's this data. What does it mean? Or like, you have a thing that you're supposed to look out for and manage, like, hey, I need to make sure we have enough inventory on hand. I need to make sure that we're getting our inventory at the right time, because we don't want to hold it. We want to get it right when we need it. But you also have to account for, like, hey, let's say it's coming from the East Coast of the US to the West Coast. That truck could crash. That truck could get caught in a snowstorm. There's a million things that could happen to slow that truck down. You don't know when it's going to get here. You might know that it's probably going to get here on this day at this time, but you don't know until it's there. Anything could happen. I've seen trucks crash, like, down the street, and you can't just pull it in. It doesn't, like, there's a truck that has crashed. You have to separate the truck and the cargo, and then maybe you can get someone else to tow the cargo in. Like, usually it's not that big of a deal, but the point is, like, stuff can happen, and you have to be prepared for that. So it's not as simple as just saying, well, deliver it Wednesday. Well, that's when we need it, so we'll be good. And then there's handling time and all kinds of... It gets complicated, and it's not as simple as just saying, well, it's the number's 3, so do 3. You actually have to interpret what's going on and say, like, okay, well, given this particular material, we have this carrier that seems to be doing about this accurate. This is a level of accuracy that we're comfortable with, and there's a formula for that, and all, on and on. You actually have to kind of do math and figure it out. And that's a lot more interesting, I think. Anyway, I kind of rambled here, but I guess that's maybe my brand, is rambling about stuff like this. I apologize if you're not interested in it. I know a lot of people maybe don't like talking about work, but it's what I do. This is a whole nother topic for the next video, maybe, but work is what defines me. I get that there's maybe a stigma around that you shouldn't define yourself by your work, you should be more than your work. And I'm not saying this specific job defines me, but my ability to be productive, my ability to do something and contribute to something defines me. That has become my center point of who I am, my value, what I can do with my life is creating. And it's not necessarily creative creating, but it's creating some form of value somewhere, doing something, making something happen. That's where a lot of my sense of self and my value comes from. So when I talk about these things, it's not like, oh, hey kids, you should do this. That's not the point at all. The point that I'm getting at is that if you're like me and you were in that situation as a kid where you feel terrible and you aren't happy with yourself, you're afraid you're going to be that loser who can't hold down a job and all that, you don't have all the puzzle pieces yet. And you're not done growing. So give yourself some time. Focus, like, the problem is, until you actually see it, it's so hard to actually internalize. Like, I can say things all day, but it's so hard for anyone to internalize that and just know, like, oh yeah, no, I get it, it's fine. But just know that maybe it may not be as dark as you think it is. Maybe you do have cause to worry. I don't know. I don't know you, but maybe, maybe things are all right. You're gonna do fine. All you can do is your best, ultimately. And whether that's good enough or not is, to a degree, out of your hands. Just do your best until you know what good enough is, and then do good enough, I guess, if that's where you want to be, but I like doing my best. Well, I like telling myself that I'm doing my best, and then killing time the whole day when I should be working, and then scrambling at 1 AM to do everything, like I'm doing right now. But anyway, that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you will join us for the next one as well. If you did, there's always a stream at twitch.tv/electronicmoose. See, this is what happens when I deviate from the script. The schedule's Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, 6 to 8 p.m. PST, 9 to 11 p.m. EST. Feel free to come by and check out a stream if you would like. If not, thanks for watching here on YouTube all the same, and I will see you next time. Take care.